I love windows. I love seeing the world around me, letting the natural light in. I love feeling connected to nature, even when I'm inside. When I was a kid, I used to leave my window in my bedroom open all the time. It was so nice to be in my room working on something and still be able to hear the birds and feel the breeze and smell the fresh cut grass. I would sleep with my window open also, falling asleep to the crickets and the frogs and the sounds of the night. I loved it. Then, I went away to college in the middle of a much bigger city than the one that I'd come from. I like the city, don't get me wrong, but the noise and pollution gets old sometimes. It didn't matter. Dorm and apartment windows don't open. Mine didn't anyway. After college, I began working at a publishing agency. I really did love it. The people I worked with were great, and even my boss was laid back and easy to work with. Plus, who doesn't love to be surrounded by books all day? It was decent money as well, and I was fairly happy. In my heart, though, I knew I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write, not edit or proofread or spend all day focusing on somebody else's work. I wanted to be doing my own. Luckily for me, my boss, also a writer, understood exactly where I was coming from. She allowed me to work from home and even agreed to read my work and give me comments and critiques. I knew I would never get any writing done in the city, surrounded by so many distractions though. So I took all of my savings and put down a down payment on a secluded cabin at the base of the mountains. It was right out of a novel itself. I mean, really. Not too big, not too small. It was right on a lake, and it was perfect. From my back deck, I could watch the sunrise on the mountaintops as the early morning mist slowly faded from the lake. I could hear frogs and crickets and smell the fresh-cut grass and morning dew. And I could finally raise my windows again. My home was full of windows. They were everywhere. The thing that made my house so noteworthy, so expensive, was the panoramic view it offered. What it offered me was a step back in time to my childhood. The first month that I lived in the house was absolutely amazing. I got so much writing done in such a short amount of time. Not to mention, the month was filled with sweet mountain breezes, strawberry lemonade, and fresh veggies from my garden, dips in the lake, and even lightning bugs. It was the first time I had seen lightning bugs in 8 years. I felt so at home. Unfortunately, that would not last. I think the first time I realized something was off was one morning about a month ago. I noticed a handprint on the patio door as I was in the kitchen getting my coffee. This, of course, wasn't alarming to me at the time. I'm not really a neat freak, so I just figured I had touched the door and had noticed the print I left. I cleaned it off and thought nothing more of it as I got ready for the day. I spent the day at a farmer's market up the mountain with a friend. Upon returning home, I noticed a second print, this time on the front door. This one was different though. It looked like the side of a hand pressed up against the glass. I was certain I had just shoved the door with the side of my hand while bringing something in or maybe letting the dog out. I cleaned it off with the window cleaner and decided while I was at it to clean all the doors and windows, just to have it done. I forgot about it after that. About 2 weeks later, I woke up around 3 a.m. I'm not a light sleeper, so I laid there in the dark, listening for what may have woken me up. The house was silent, completely still. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Very light, barely there, but still audible in the silence. And then they stopped. I was wide awake by that point, yet it still took me a few seconds to realize where the footsteps had stopped. They were right outside my window. My open window. My breath hitched in my throat and I tried to be as still as possible. I closed my eyes and prayed that my familiar childhood idea of, if I can't see them, they can't see me, held true. I'm not sure how long they stood there, staring at me. It felt like hours before I could hear the footsteps walk away. I heard the familiar squeaking of the steps, and then silence. I continued to lay there, unmoving, too scared to even think. Until the dawn broke and my room began to fill with light. My alarm on my phone went off at 6:30, and that was when I was determined it was safe to look. I slowly rose, my blood ice, as I feared what might be standing there. But there was nothing. I made a mad dash to the window, slamming it shut and locking it before closing the blinds and the curtains. I called the police, but there wasn't much that they could do other than tell me to keep my doors and windows shut and locked. I took some photos and interviewed my neighbors, but that was about it. The rest of the week passed without incident. I was finally starting to think the whole thing was just a freak occurrence. A drunk guy or a homeless person. Someone who probably meant me no harm. I stopped pulling my curtains so tightly at night and started trying to enjoy the cabin again. Like tonight, I'm sitting at my kitchen table, writing. All my windows are up and I can feel the cool mountain breeze and smell the sweet smell of late summer air. And hear the soft breathing of the person standing at my window behind me. And I can just see his reflection on my computer screen.